Right, social anxiety is an interesting one. Social anxiety is something I've really struggled with for a long, long time. I'm very, very much nearly gotten over social anxiety. It's a lot better than it used to be. I used to be in a state where I couldn't look people in the face. I'd have my head down all the time. I'd be so anxious I'd make other people uncomfortable. I couldn't have more than one person looking at me at the same time because I thought there was going to be this terrible sort of outcome, and it was all just this thing that I felt everyone was watching me and judging me, and but it's just all in your head. It's all in your head, and I just became incredibly self-conscious. I think I developed some sort of body dysmorphia where I look in the mirror, I thought my chin was really recessed. But the thing is, I can help. I've helped myself, and I can help you, and it's yeah. But I can help. I've helped myself a lot, and I'm mostly over social anxiety. I get it a little bit. It's a lot better though. It's a lot better. I'm nowhere near self-conscious. I'm a lot more relaxed socially. I just feel more normal. But the point is, with that sort of long description of my own life, is that I've improved it a lot, and I can help you guys too. But the first thing we've got to understand is, why do we have social anxiety, right? So it begins with this idea of a flaw, right? It begins with something you dislike about yourself and you believe other people will judge you for it too. So for me, I'll speak about my flaws, which I still perceive. One is being stupid. Like I said, I grew up being dyslexic. I'd sometimes say things which wasn't right, or I get my words out wrong because my brain sometimes can't get out what I'm trying to actually say, and people would laugh at me. So I built up this response through conditioning in my own childhood that, if I say something stupid, people will judge me for it, and I feel stupid and I feel rejected and stuff. So emotionally, like the Pavlov response, I developed that. So that was from very, very young. I developed that. Really worried about saying the wrong thing. Became very quiet. Also, I have a thing about my appearance as well. Like there's certain things I didn't like growing up. Like my bone structure, my hairline, stuff like that. I became very self-conscious of, and it really affected me. As I became more awkward and became aware that I was awkward, being awkward was a flaw in itself. I thought if I was anxious and I got on well with someone, they'd dislike me, right? So we've got these flaws, and you'll have to identify what are these flaws in you. Like, what are you worried about? Really have a think about it. I mean, you might not know. You might just think, I'm scared, I'm anxious. But you need to think about this. I mean, you can think about this in different ways. You can deep journal, ask yourself, why am I anxious? And just keep asking the question, why? I want to find out what these flaws are. And logically, the next step is something that's helped me a lot is CBT. The CBT apps, the CBT worksheet, basically cognitive behavioral therapy, right? You can take about 20 sessions if you're going to pay for it, but you can use 15 minutes a day and it'll take as long as it takes. Basically, you take the thought, I'm scared I'll get judged for my flaw or whatever it is, and then you'll break it down. Evidently, is it true? Will it actually happen? What's the percentage of this actually happening? It's just this process. So you can use apps. There's free CBT app, which is decent. There's an app called Clarity, which you have to pay for, which is very, very good. You can get a free trial, sort of get an understanding of it, and then go to the free CBT app. But you want to break down these thoughts, right? You want to understand them. You want to break them down. You want to rationalize them. Okay, so it doesn't matter. People will accept me for me being awkward. People will accept me for this. Once your brain knows people will accept you for these things, your anxiety will massively drop. Massively drop. You want to build your self-esteem. You want to build your self-esteem because think about it. We don't like these flaws in ourselves, so we judge them for ourselves, and we're scared that other people will judge them too. But the thing is, if we had pure self-acceptance, we wouldn't give a flying fuck, would we? We wouldn't give a flying fuck what anyone else thought because we accept ourselves. So self-esteem is something really important to work on. As well as CBT, something else which has really, really helped me is exposure therapy, right? Exposure therapy is essentially you go out and you expose yourself to the things you were scared of. And I know what you're thinking. You think, oh, that's really scary, I don't want to do that. What you do is you set a list. You can work on different things. You can work on the specific flaws to challenge those flaws, like where it get triggered, or just general communication. You want to do a 1 through 10 or 1 through 15 or whatever, however long the list is. The easiest thing to the most scary thing to do with social anxiety. So, and what you want to do is you want to keep doing this specific exposure till your anxiety drops to 4 or below. That's the goal, because then it's sort of manageable, and then you move up to the next one. But you want to do a list, for example. So it could be, say, for me, who's generally speaking to people, one could be stopping someone, asking for the time. So you've got to be self-aware. You've got to analyse what's the least scary thing to the most scary thing. The most scary thing could be asking a girl for their Snapchat or something, you know what I mean? Something where the fear is really strong. But if you slowly expose yourself to these, if you do them enough, your brain will learn there's no threat. The threat system will learn there's nothing to be scared of. And then you calm down. And then your anxiety drops after a while. So it's like doing these exposures with CBT, you know what I mean? Challenge those flaws. So say if awkward is a flaw, then do a list from the least amount of times when you are awkward to the most amount of times you're awkward, and slowly expose that. So let's say you're a bit awkward with people in general, so you go and approach a woman for the time, an older woman, but then the next one's maybe someone your own age, and you still feel a bit awkward, but you still do it, and it's just in your anxiety level that you can just do, just a bit out of your comfort zone. You keep doing it until you get all the way to asking the girl for the Snapchat, whatever, but you got to be consistent. And what I did really advise is get as many friends as possible who want to work on their social skills, who want to work on their social anxiety. I have a friend called Charlie. He edits these videos, right, who I go out with weekly, and we go do social exposures. We do them together. And if we didn't have each other, we wouldn't do them. It's hard to have that discipline to get out of your comfort zone. The thing is, if it's not a habit, it won't be repeated usually. And if it's not used with accountability, then it won't usually be repeated either. So they're really important. As for self-esteem, as I was mentioning, so assertiveness. Being assertive is so important, because if you can assert your own thoughts, wishes and desires, you know what I mean? It proves to yourself, oh, I'm important. Say, for example, if to your boss, right, you had to leave 15 minutes early. Say the bus, you have to leave 15 minutes early for the bus, otherwise you'll have to wait another hour or whatever. If you go up to your boss and say, sorry, I do have to leave 15 minutes early, but I'll make up next time or whatever, that proves to yourself, oh, I'm important because I express my own needs, wishes and desires. I'm an important person. It raises your self-esteem. But if you don't, if you hide your own thoughts and wishes and desires, it lowers your self-esteem. So it's really important to work on self-assertiveness. You can do the same thing. You can use an exposure therapy list of the easiest thing to be assertive with to the hardest thing to be assertive with, and work on it. You know what I mean? Get through it, CBT, get your friends to help you. Work on these things. It will really help you. I promise, because I've helped myself a lot. Also, another thing to work on self-esteem is discipline. If you've already got low levels of discipline, getting a little bit of discipline will shoot up your self-esteem. Guarantee it. Honestly, when I've been really disciplined, I've seen people from school out and about, and I'm less anxious. I'm like, I don't fucking care about their opinion. It doesn't matter. So you also need to set goals if you want to overcome social anxiety. Set goals going to the gym. That would help so much. Honestly, the idea of you working on yourself and being disciplined will help a lot with your self-esteem, you know what I mean? Getting up early, eating clean, stop having junk food, all these things. If you can work on these things and work on your discipline level, that will shoot your self-esteem up. And you just got to start small and start with goals that motivate you as well. For example, right, I'm going on holiday in a few weeks' time, right? I've set a goal to go to the gym consistently and eat well, and that has raised my self-esteem because I'm disciplined on it. I feel good about myself. So set goals, work on them, be disciplined. Set the bar low as well. If you're really struggling, just set the bar low. Just say, okay, my discipline's really bad, but we'll do 2 minutes of this. And you can build on that. You can build on that every day. You can do an extra minute or whatever and just push yourself out your comfort zone a little bit. And then that will still raise your self-esteem. You know what I mean? Something else, and it's going back to CBT. It's analysing your thought process about yourself. CBT, okay, So, for example, I can get myself in ruts. If I'm not perfect at something, say I've done something, I haven't done a very good job at it, or I feel like I haven't done a very good job at it. Say I've had a list of 10 things to do on the day and I've only done 3. I'd then get in a rut and go, oh, I'm a failure, right? Oh, I'm a loser, I can never do anything. These thoughts, cognitive distortion through my upbringing, for however reason, that affects my self-esteem. How true is it? I'm a failure at everything if I've just failed at this one thing today. Is that true? No, it's not. You've got to break it down, use the apps I've said. But yeah, all these things will really help build your self-esteem up. Probably the easiest tip I can give you to improve on your social anxiety is work. Work in retail. And I know that sounds scary, and let me give you a tip to what is appropriate and not appropriate for you, and it varies from person to person. When I suffered really badly with social anxiety because of lockdown, it really messed me up, right? I worked in a hotel. It was a dreadful idea. So I thought super black and white. Okay, so I want to work on my social skills. I want to work on my social anxiety. So people, go see people. No, you can do too much. You can do too much and make yourself worse. I remember when my social anxiety was really bad, I had to serve this group of women. There was 8 women. I'd serve them. It was horrific. I was so self-conscious, really anxious, hated it. You can overdo it, right? So you've got to somewhat set the bar low. For me, I started to work at a home base, mainly full of old people, right? And it was very quiet. So I was practicing not avoiding people, because when you avoid people, that's when your social anxiety gets worse, because your brain is responding to what you think is real. Oh no, it's a threat. Don't look at them, don't confront them. Then that thing gets scarier, right? Your emotional brain thinks it's scarier. So I was confronting people at work. I had to. I was working on tills. There wasn't that many people in a day. I'd say hello, look them in the eye, serve them, they'd ask me a question, stuff like that. That massively, dramatically improved my social anxiety just by working. And then I leveled up. After 6 months, I then worked at a job with a bit more people, right? So I naturally used social anxiety exposure therapy at work, and I was getting paid for it, right? Meditation as well is fucking fantastic. I love meditation. I love it. It's so good. It's a skill, it's hard, you got to stick with it. Use I think there's a Medito app Hamza recommends, and I like Headspace, but you have to pay for it, so whatever you want. Something that's helped me with my anxiety as well is something called Meisner. Meisner is an acting technique. Essentially, it's very similar to it's similar to meditation. It's a form of meditation. It's essentially, it's called, you start with a repetition exercise. It's all about getting out of your own head, focusing on the other person. It calms down anxiety and helps with self-consciousness, because you're all about thinking about the other person in front of you. It's called a repetition exercise. It's really good. And if you can put your attention away from yourself onto the breath, onto someone else, that will calm down natural anxiety. But obviously, you've got to train. You've got to show your brain there's no threat with people as well. You can't just rely on meditation. It's all these things together. It can help calm down anxiety. And yeah, with all these tips, I hope I can help some people, because I know how tough it is. It's not easy. It's not easy to live with this. It's not. And you can be all Andrew Tate about it. Oh yeah, but if you're anxious anyway, just do it, And I think it's completely disregarding people's feelings towards it, because it can be horrible socially. It can be. I've been there, and honestly, I've never been so relaxed in all my life socially. I haven't been this least self-conscious since before puberty. It's great. But I promise you, it can get easier. I used to think there's no way it will improve it. I used to think very black and white. Oh no, I've got anxiety forever. But honestly, you can massively, massively improve it. Promise you.